I'm gonna put some bones in this book so we can animate it. I think this base bone, the root, will be our pelvis or whatever. We're gonna make the root. Yeah, so it'll be the pelvis. So it'll move everything with it, unless you want to make things independent from some main motion. And now let's see. This is supposed to be a book. Now the pages are pretty big, but I want things to be clear. So let's say those are the covers, right? Those are the pages. I'm gonna put bones in here first, and just gonna do the outer cover. I'll animate that, and then I'll animate these things that are decorative studs. Everything will move with the base bone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a bone for each one of these. And I'll snap, let's say, the head to this vertex here. And I'll make another one. And I'll do the same thing. And I want to do this before I snap the head of it because I'm going to have something anchored to. I could have just snapped the head to that, right? But I'm just gonna do that and then that. That's not working. Snap to that. Alright, so now that's in the center. I'll do the same. Yeah, so let's snap this over here. Shrink it. And I want to make sure my bone roll is zeroed out after I'm done. So these are both on the same axis. So that should work. And then I know that I married these, so they should be top and bottom the same, so I can just carry that up there. And then all of these will be connected to this. Control P and keep offset. And I've got two more to do here, but I may not animate everything. I don't know. Just show how to do it. And since they're the same distance, I can just copy one of these sets and snap it up in two axes. So to here and then to there. And that should work. Now my problem is I'm not going to be able to see these very well. I want to bring the tails of these bones out. So maybe I'll just select all of these tails and scale them. 1, Y. No. Scale them on the X. There we go. Now there. Now I'll be able to see the bones. Now I'll select all my bones and adjust the roll. Let's see what we got here. Bone roll, clear all. And that'll do that. Save that. I want a couple of bones for these pages, so I'll just copy two of these here, Shift D, and I'll slide these out. I want the head of the bone to snap to this vertex here because that's the origin of the book, or at least it will be. I actually made that the origin, but it's not important because the bones are going to control the rotation of the book. And I'm going to point these straight up and down, I think. So I'll grab these and give it some height distance. And then I'm going to snap them to the on two axes to the bottom vertex. So first in this direction, and then in that direction. Do the same for the other side. Now I'm being pretty obsessive about how these things are aligned, but for this particular object it's not too important. And I'm going to reset the bone roll on this. But at some point you'll notice that you'll need to make sure that their initial angle is just so you can get your job done. Now I'm going to key a pose here for this set of bones. So I'll go into pose mode. I'll select all my bones A. And this is going to be the reference pose, which is necessary. And now I'm going to skin my pages and my studs to the bones. I'll start with this. Actually, I'm going to name my bones because because otherwise I'm going to have trouble finding it. So I'm just going to call it, since this is going to rotate in that direction, I'll call this top right page, right? Yeah, so top right page. TRP. TLP. And then I'll have, this could take a while, stud rear top, stud top rear, no, stud top rear right, stud top rear left, stud top rear right. I'm not sure how helpful this is going to be. Stud center right, center left, stud top front left, stud top front right, and then the bottom, let's name this root. The bottom will be stud bottom front right, stud bottom back right, stud bottom front left, stud bottom back left. Let's save that. I'm not sure how helpful that's going to be because of my abbreviations, but I'm sure you'll do a better job at that. Now I need to skin this. So I need to go in object mode and I'll select the object I want to skin. I want to skin it to this. I'll go into edit mode and I will select all of the elements. In this case it's on the vertices. And I'll go in object data properties. I'll add a group and I need to name that group the same as that bone. So what I can do is I know what that bone name is, or I should. It's called stud top rear left. Nope, right. If I say assign, all the selection is assigned to that group. Now let's see if it actually did something. It's a good idea to animate your bones to see if they are working so that you don't have to keep going back and forth into different modes. So if I move this, it doesn't, because we don't have an armature on it. But what I want to do is spin this. I'm going to go ahead 30 and to spin this, what, I don't know, 45 degrees or 90 degrees, and I'll do the same thing for this side, 90 degrees, about 90 degrees, and then I can select both these bones and hit I to insert a. Okay, so that works for those, and I would do the rest of these as well, but I'm going to move these instead. Now this is just a test animation. You'll replace it with a real one afterwards. This is just a test, so I'm just gonna move these that way, and I'll do an I, and same thing here. And then this bone here will move everything together. So that's how I'm gonna bob the book up and down while it does other animations. Okay, so now let's we have to assign an armature modifier to this and point at the armature in order for it to work. Okay, so I've got the wrong bone on this, presumably. Let's see what our bone names are. Viewport display, name, that's the object. We don't want that, we want skeleton, so viewport display, name. Okay, so this is I wish we could change the color of these or the font, the size. Top right, what did I call that? TR top right P. What's a P? Oh, page. Oh, right, page. So that's what that is. So let's go into the object here. Call it page, and then it just pops right where it belongs, right? No, it's just not skinned anything. So TRP. Oh, I see. Because wrong bone name. Okay, now it works. All right. So we do that the same thing to the other. Tab A group. I'll do a sign and then I'll name it TLP. And you can even go into the armature modifier, add the armature, and tell it to deform these things in the viewport while in edit mode, so you can see what's going on. But we don't need to do that. You don't need the extra processing. So that's nice. And the studs end up pulling those out, right? So we would do each stud like that. We're going to skin each stud like that. And normally I would just stop the video and do the skinning and then come back, but I think for people who are just beginning, they want to see this repeated, and so you can always fast forward, but I'm going to do all these right when the camera with the video going. So let's do that, especially since it's all one object. You might want to learn how to do that. So I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to hover my cursor over one of these elements, and I'm going to hit the L key, and that will select all that is linked, and that's the only portion that I want. Let's do that again. The other side must have been selected. Yep. So I want to move these bones out of the way so I can see that's STRR. So now I can go to the object data properties, add a group, call it STRR, and I may as well add my armature modifier to this and show the transform while I'm in edit mode, so assign. I think that will be helpful to know if it's working. So let's do the other side now. I'm going to click somewhere here, so it deselects that, and select this one. Okay, and create a new group. Name this group STR. I don't think it was supposed to be STR. I think that bone is supposed to be. Let's go fix that bone name. I goofed that up, I think. This is supposed to be STR left, right? Yeah. So let's go into edit mode on this. Change this bone name, STR left. I think I hit the wrong key when I named it, that's why. Okay. Alright, we can go back to our object now. Come on. Tab. Make sure we assign that group, right? And of course, rename it properly. And that pops right up. That's good. Let's do the other ones on the top. Link that, STRR, right? R and assign. ST front R. Oops. Yeah. And I guess this one's going to be plus. STFL and assign. No, must be wrong. Yeah. There we go. Case sensitive, I believe. I think it is. Yeah. No, it's. Yeah, it is, because that's a small L. I will do the bottom ones now. Click somewhere to deselect everything. L. Now the reason why I clicked on that was just to make sure my cursor was in the right place before I hit the L key, and that can save you a little bit of time. And that's SBFR. Why is that SBFR? That's not. SBFR. What does B mean? Bottom. Oh, okay. I know it's gonna have some problems. All right, so SBFR, I believe, and assign. Good. Click somewhere. All right. And this one is SB front left and assign. Click somewhere. L for link. SBBR plus SBBR sign, and last one, and we have the middle ones afterwards. SBBL assign, and then we have just the middle ones. L, what's that? SCR. Okay, I don't remember what I meant by these letters mostly, but we can see the names, so that's good enough. And that's SCL, I believe. Assign. So we've got all that. Now I can turn off the influence there, and then we go into object mode, and it'll show the influences. All right, so I'm not going to be making anything awesome, cool. I'm just going to show how to do some animations, and then you can do what you like. This root bone here, I'm going to animate that up and down. So I'm not going to start the animation here. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to give it another key so that this segment here is blank. You see how that's solid. Then I'm going to give it, let's say, 30 frames, and bring it up to a height that I want it at. That's okay. We're gonna put bones in there. Right now we're just gonna animate this. I'm gonna turn off my snaps, and I'm gonna hit the I key to insert a keyframe. Then I'm gonna go another 30 frames, 70, 90, and I'm gonna go Alt G to put it back to where it was, and hit it again. So now we have a floaty thing. It's gonna smooth transition. There's gonna be an interpolation going on there. So let's play that and watch. Okay, so I want that to happen. I want that to keep happening. Now you can use a modifier to make this bounce happen constantly along the timeline, but I'm going to do it manually. And this might show how to do something that's not well known for beginners. Now the keys that I will manipulate are associated with a selected item. Unfortunately, I have selected keys for other bones. I want to click here to deselect everything, and then I can just select the keys by marquee, selecting the ones that I want to modify. And I'm going to duplicate these by Shift D. I'm going to bring these over here. I want to see if I got the right thing, see if I did this right. So, okay, so now I have these here, and I think I can just drop those right there. Those will have overwritten the other keys, but they were the same thing anyway. So now I have a bob thing, and I'm going to duplicate this a couple more times. And just so I can get an alignment, I will duplicate these again so I'll know where to drop them exactly. It's unnecessary except for visually aligning them. And I'm going to do that. D. I'll pull them all the way over here so I can see what I have. I will drop them in the wrong spot first, and then I'll move them over there. Now I'm hitting the G key in order to move them. I'm going to turn on my keycast so you can see the keys I'm using. But I hit the G key here, and then I hit the yes key to scale things. I should have turned that on earlier. I'm going to duplicate these one more time, and again drop those keys there, and those will just combine. The ones I dropped there will overwrite the old ones, but it's the same keys anyway, same transforms. So now I have an animation. It will bob up and down. We can make these studs flying around. You can do all sorts of things you want. So you should have enough animation to work with, enough animation information to work with, and then you can just have fun making your own animation. But now we have to prepare this for Second Life. So I'm going to save this, and we'll do that. Alright, we need to utilize the template mapper, and I'm going to turn off the bone names here. So the visual snap mapper is where we usually want to start, and oftentimes that's the only thing you need for mapping. Sometimes you'll need the hybrid mapper if you have a very complicated or unusual hierarchy. Let me turn off the names for these the bones in this, and then I'm going to, I needed to skin these portions to the root. So let's see, I can do it. I need to skin these to the root. So you can do them individually like I did everything else, or you can select them all and join them. Do them one at a time. Edit, no, object, group. This will be the root bone. And go into edit. Make sure everything is selected using the A key and assign. So they should move with the armature. When it bobs up and down, so it does. Now I want to separate these objects again. Stay in edit mode and mesh. Separate by loose parts. And now we still have an armature modifier for each part. They're separate, so we can animate them individually later. You can still animate them individually later, but if you try to upload that to Second Life, some of these vertices are going to stick to each other. I couldn't tell you why Second Life does that. There is a trick to prevent that, but that's for more advanced instructional, which exists in my collection of videos, but it doesn't have a name that you can find easily. Okay, so we're gonna map these bones. Now, in order for this to work in Second Life, because there's so many bones, there's not a single chain, and you don't want to work out what kind of hierarchy you need for each portion, although you can make, like, these can be the feet, those can be arms. You can do different tests to see what moves, but there's a quick way to do this, and that's by using safe bones. And safe bones are end bones that are the typical deformed bones, which is to say they are not attachment bones and they are not volume bones, although you can use those as safe bones. Some volume bones won't work well. One or two attachment bones don't work well. I don't think I include those in the selections, but you can effectively animate them all if you're not going for a sane hierarchy. So anyway, we have to map these. In order to do that, I click Action, and it shows the proxy rig. Now this book turns out to be too big, so I'm going to scale it. I'll reset the stage. I want to scale this down. Alright, so it's not going to scale because the book parts, the mesh, is not parented to the armature. So I'm going to select the armature, Control I to invert my selection, because I know that that's all that's left in the scene is just the book parts. Now Shift and click the armature so that the armature is the active element, and then Control P to parent, and I want to parent with object only. And now when I move the object, the book moves. When I scale the object, the book shrinks. So let's go get ourselves a safe rig, and I'm going to slide it back, and that's just for reference, so I can see how big my book is going to be. Now, bones can't move more than 5 meters away from its avatar center, so I want to see how big this is, and it's a little bit, its height is a little bit more than 5 meters, so just to give it some buffer room, I'm going to bring it down just below 5, 4.5-ish, and that's fine. You don't have to apply scale here, and in fact, if you do, you're going to goof up your animation. There's a way to do that. Bento has some tools to clean your animation, but it's not necessary right now. Sometimes when you have a complicated setup or animation or multiple animations, you might want to clean the transforms in them, but that again is for another time, another tutorial. Let's go to our mapper now and click Action, and you can see that it's a good size. Reset the stage because I want to move that. I want that armature to appear a little further behind it because I need to select all these bones, and then when I click Select Safe, it will select safe bones on the target, and then I click Deposit, and it will deposit bones to this entire thing. Now, I think I want this to be the pelvis, so I'm going to unmap that and manually map that. First, I'm going to show less bones so I can find my pelvis. I'm going to select the pelvis, and I'm going to select the root, and I'm going to say map these bones. Now I can go back and say show all bones, and it'll show all the mapped proxy bones. Now that's it. I can just I can save this. The map is saved with the Blender file, or you can save your map up here to transfer to different Blender files. But now you can just reset the stage and the map stays with it. In order to bring this into SL, you can use character converter, but because all of the bones are mapped, there's no loose bones, character converter isn't necessary. And you can go to the mesh exporter and down to mapped mesh exporter. No map is present. Of course there is. I just put one. Why wouldn't there be a map? That can't be a bug. Come on. Of course there's a map present. It's right there. Let me go see what the heck I did. Mesh export. I don't know if there's a bug. It shouldn't be. I haven't goofed with that in a long time. Let me see what I did. I don't know how I forgot how. I don't know how I forgot how to use my own tools. It has to be that the mesh is selected. Then I can export the mapped mesh here. Then I select the rig because I want my animation as well. And I'll go into the character tools. Now you can do retarget motion and oops, that was wrong. I did a match map. I didn't mean to do that. And I didn't save my armature, my map, so I'm gonna have to open the book again. I clicked match map by accident. I meant to click glue. And when you click glue and you do action, the bones will stick right to where they belong, and that's because this is a very custom mesh. We want this to happen. This is going to be for Animesh, and that's. But if you want it for an avatar, you want your avatar to be a book, you should do this as well with the glue. But let's say you had a biped and you just want a relative motion, then you wouldn't use glue. You would just you would put some distance here and click action, and the bones would move relative to what Second Life expects. But in this particular case, you can't see the other bones because they're hidden. The safe bones that are being used are hidden. I'm not sure I ever show all bones here. Yeah, I do. You'll see these bones. Are they going to move independently? Yeah, hang on. Let's see which ones are moving. I don't see any up. Oh, wait a minute. It's because they not. I don't know why those aren't moving. It's really not important, but I am curious now why the mapped bones aren't moving. I don't get it. So I'm just going to reset the stage and use glue and action. Now when you use glue, no, scratch that. When you use the retargeter, uh, after you export your animation, you have to reset the stage. But I programmed a different tool so that's a little easier when you have such a custom rig. And in bone control, there's a snap to map, which assumes that you want to glue the bones. So that's already enabled in here, and you want to make sure you send the animation, the send to animation, which will send the animation range to the animation exporter, and I'll show you that in a moment, right after I snap these bones. Once you're done exporting animation, you don't have a reset button here, you just delete this. That's what makes it a little more easier to use. So I'll snap my bones, and under the animation exporter, I need to go to Anim Export Features, and you can see that 390 is the is where the animation stops, right here, and that's what the send to animation button did. And since this is Animesh, priority 2 is fine. And I always want to prototype my animation, so before I commit to it, so I'll loop it, which helps, and then I can just export it from here. And once it's done exporting, that red will disappear. Now it's nice, it's a good idea to not move your mouse when you're waiting for something to happen, because an error that pops up might get lost and you'll never see it. And if you're experiencing errors and you don't know why, you want to go up to Window and toggle System Console and see what's going on in there. Now I'm going to delete this rig because we're all done. I'm just going to save my work just in case I change something. And let's go see what this looks like in Second Life. Now, we'll need a script for the Animesh. And Bento comes with one. More than one. Animesh starts at 15 Li. You can't, nothing you can do about that. So the actual land impact of the item, just deduct 15 Li from it. And right here we have 4. We turn it into Animesh. It jumps. Well, that jumps to 15. But we need to add an anchor so I can click on something, because you can't directly click on a skinned mesh. You can right click and choose touch. The Animesh has a touch event in it, so let's link this to that, and you can always edit that portion and just invisify it if you like. I'm going to drop my animation into it, and then you can find this just with the same name in Bento Buddy's package. Put that in there. Now let's say I change something. I would want to shift click and drag, and it will make a copy. This is the original, and if you had engaged the animation, that animation would be cached in the original, and this one would be clean. So when you're testing Animesh, Always do this when you change your animation. Now I can right click and touch, but because I have the anchor, it's clickable. And it's not animating. Who knows why? Animated mesh, that's why. Try again. There we go. Ooh, one a pie. Well, okay, so that gives you idea how it works. Now, if you don't want that first portion to play, you can exclude that in Blender. So, for instance, in your animation export, let's go do that again. Snap the bones. In the loop portion, you would just bring that up to frame wherever your keys are, where you want it to start. Let's see where that is. So I'll have to go in here and pose and select all the keys. Now let's see. If you want it to just, you want it to bounce up and down from frame 30, I guess. I know I have one offset here, so I'm just going to move those over, right? So I'll select all of these and just move those over to frame 30. That way I know it's frame 30 that I want to repeat from. So I will bring that up to frame 30. And re-export. Character tools, snap. Delete that. And there's a new animation, so edit, delete the old one, drop the new one in, but it's not going to work. Like I told you, you have to shift click drag to create a new copy that doesn't have the animation cache in it. And now this will loop indefinitely from frame 30, so you won't see that opening anymore. But Second Life with a viewer is a little goofy. Oh, so that didn't work. Second Life with a viewer is a little goofy, so it sometimes the Animesh animations will stop. And I have a script in here for retriggering it in case that happens. And there's a couple different types. I think I forgot to reset the frame rate after the snap. Let's go see what happened. Yeah, so when I did a snap, it put the loop frame back to 1. So let's go snap again. Snap bones, and then I go to animation, and I have to put that back up there. So 2930, and export that. So I goofed up on that. And one more try. Go back to Second Life. Let's see what happens. Load. Catch markers down here so you can click it, but you can also right click and touch the Animesh itself. Now after the loop runs out, it'll just come back to the beginning and the pages won't turn from the start anymore. So it's already exceeded that time, and that should be enough. Have fun.